Hi, my name is Joseph Pedetti. I am a master's student of organizational leadership at Anderson University. I am a student pastor at Hope Chapel, and this is the final for the marketing strategy class for the Business 6350 course. We are going to be analyzing Hope Chapel and how it fits with the class that we took. So, Hope Chapel, I'm going to introduce Hope Chapel. First, we are a multi-campus church that is centered in Kansas City. We have multiple locations. One is in Olathe, Kansas, Legends, Kansas, Lee Summit, Missouri. We have a new campus that's going to be launching in 2024, downtown Kansas City. And we actually have a fifth congregation that meets at Olathe that is a Spanish and Espanol congregation as well. It was formerly known as Indian Creek Community Church, and that transitioned leadership in 2017, where we rebranded to becoming Hope Chapel. Now, I've actually only been a part of Hope Chapel since October of 2023, so I'm about 4.5, 5 months in at this point. So it's been a really great onboarding process to learn about what we're doing at Hope Chapel and how it is working or potentially not working. So the different analysis topics that we're going to look at is we're going to look at our external marketing strategy. We're also going to look at the church strategy for brand unity across multiple campuses and ministries. Now, this is really important because as a multi-site church with different campuses, we're going to be affecting and ministering to different groups of people across the greater Kansas City area. So how do we do that and have a unified brand and a unified message when we're meeting different people of different demographics and different socioeconomical groups? And looking at the external marketing strategy, we're going to focus on what we're currently doing, and we're also going to look at our targeting strategy as well. So our organizational overview. Our mission statement is that we exist to lead people to experience real life in Jesus for the hope of the world. We think hope looks a lot like experiencing freedom through salvation, receiving grace as we abide in Jesus, encountering love through authentic community, committing to grow through transformation, and being on mission as we live out our purpose. Now, that's a lot of words, and it encompasses what Hope Chapel stands for, but it has been summarized to find hope, bring hope. And the reason it has been summarized to find hope, bring hope is because that is something that we really make sure that everyone knows and is on our walls, it is on our signage, it is a part of our vernacular and a part of all of our groups. Find hope and bring hope. It encapsulates everything of that mission into 4 words. We have many, many ministries that fall under the umbrella. Just a few of them. We have a ministry for people that are 60 and older. We have ministries for women. We have ministries for men. We have Alpha Ministry, which is for people that aren't in the church. We have ministries for young kids, which is called Kairos. We have ministries for little kids, which is our kids ministry, our Hope Kids program. We have food pantries, which is Hope Cares. We have counseling programs, and there are more as well. Okay, let's look at our organizational overview. So, Olathe, the target market for Olathe is mostly young families married with kids, mainly middle class and mainly Caucasian. Now, it's important to know that Olathe is the hub of all of the churches. So this is where the offices are. This is where the lead pastors are. It's where the executive pastor is, and most of the culture is actually being set out of our Olathe location. Legends is a lower income demographic. It's a little bit older. It's 40s to 60s. It's a mixed ethnic group. Lee Summit is it's our smallest congregation at this point. It's our suburban middle class congregation. It's a little bit of an older demographic, 60 plus, but it is changing demographics as more families are starting to come to the church over the last couple of months or so, and this is our most racially diverse group of people. Then we have the Espanol congregation, which meets at Olathe, but they have a separate auditorium. And that's about 100 to 150 people, and it's only Spanish speaking. And then we have a downtown Kansas City congregation that is planning to launch in 2024, but is already meeting in small groups in downtown locations right now. So the key strategies that are currently happening, we're mainly focusing right now on having a unified identity. So what does brand recognition look like? What is our focus? How do we make sure that people know who we are across all of these different locations, speaking to different people? That is something that we're really focusing on right now. Our targeting and the way that we go about targeting, we're going to dive into in a moment. Our external marketing and strategy and messaging. Again, find hope, bring hope. How are we relaying that message across the board? And then another strategy that we have is the culture of invitation, our word of mouth or testimonies. So let's start with our first topic that we're going to analyze. It's our unified brand identity. Now, how do we as a church have a unified brand, a unified identity? It's hard enough as it is with one location, but when you have multiple locations and locations that speak different languages, how do you accomplish that? Well, that's something that has been rather tricky to figure out, but it's multifaceted, and it mainly focuses on a couple of things. One is that our big key events that we can push towards invitation and getting people that are outside of our community all speak the same language in terms of what we're talking about. It might actually be the same language, but the things we're focusing on and the messaging and the core identity of who we are is the same for those big events such as Easter, Christmas. These are all happening at different locations at the same time. Kairos United, which is our youth group, our serving opportunities, our open arms missions. These are all happening in the same time, different places, and they're done through the same heart and the same brand identity, but it's voiced a little bit different. And the way it's voiced a little bit different is that the people who are running them are able to put a little bit of their own spin on it and speak directly towards the needs of those in their community, while we're actually getting together as a big church and making sure that it is unified in the way that we're presenting it. So the way that we do that is we have weekly large church staff meetings and individual staff gatherings. In those gatherings, vision is cast, there's unity that is cast, there's ensuring that we're aligned and we're addressing any gaps. And then once all of those things take place, people go off into their own settings and are able to apply those things in their way that actually meets the people in their direct community. Topic analysis. How are we targeting specific groups of people? Well, we're doing that by setting up different types of ministries that actually meet people directly. So we actually have ministries that are specifically for different ages, different needs, different genders. So we have Hope Kids, which is for our kids, our youth program. And each one of these programs has many different expressions and many different ways to participate. For example, I am the pastor of the youth program, so we're planning our summer events. We're planning a conference next week. We have different leaders, so multi-generations can actually participate in all of these different things as well. So if you have an interest in one of these things, you can participate even if it doesn't apply to you directly. Kindreds is our women's ministry. Hope Academy is a actual ministry school. So this is a school that it's like a daycare program for kids that are 6 weeks old all the way to 5 years old. And there are about 60 employees that work there, over 100 students, and it serves the need of daycare for people in our community at a cost that they can afford, and really, really high level of care for their children. Our Open Arms Food Pantry, we're actually going to get into the numbers of that in a moment, but it's over 200,000 pounds in people, 200,000 pounds of food served and given to families in our community, and over 200,000 people that were actually given meals to over the past year. So that is a way that we're targeting a specific group of people in terms of serving them and loving them well and making sure that people are cared for as a part of our mission here. We also have a Hope Cares counseling office, which provides needs for people as well. We also have a Trellis program, which partners with different colleges and allows kids to actually go to school so that they can get education and ministry experience as well. External marketing strategy. So what are we doing to get the name of Hope Chapel out there so people know who we are? Currently, 10 to 15% of the focus is around our big events, and the goal is to push this around 30%. So most, and what I mean focus, I mean is like mental energy, time actually spent doing this. So when I was talking to our communications person who functions mostly, takes most of the responsibility as the marketing person in our community, she said that this is not something that is a big focus currently, but she would love for it to be more of a big focus moving forward, because she sees that there's a gap in us not focusing on getting the word out for our big events. Currently, most of the people that come to our church come because they see our sign on the road of our building. There's a big sign that says welcome in big, big, big letters. And a lot of people, that are driving by see it. And that's a pretty common way that people come in. Ads on social media is one of the things that we're currently doing. For an example, we had a Blue Christmas service, which is a unique service. Again, that's a targeted services towards people who might not feel so jolly or cheerful during Christmas season. So we actually set up a place for people who might be mourning or sad or have some type of a traumatic life experience to actually have a service that they could go to during Christmas. Anyway, that service, we put a specific invite video out that was done by the lead pastors on social media so that people knew what it was and felt comfortable and knowing what they were attending. We do mailers for Easter and Christmas, other big events as well. And then email lists. So any type of email that we have gotten from people attending or people signing up for something, we send them like reminders of big events that are coming up. And then repurposing content for brand recognition. Now, this is something that we're starting to do, and we have seen some traction. So this is something that we're hoping to become a main strategy moving forward. Now, what this looks like is there's a lot of content. We record every single message on Sunday. We record serving events. We record all of these things. And we're also constantly trying to come up with things to put out on social media. So the heart behind this strategy is to use what we currently have and use that as the content that we're putting out. So we're not reinventing the wheel when we put things out. This is an underdeveloped thing, but it is on the rise of something that we're focusing on. Topic analysis. Invitation is something that we're currently doing. So the heart behind this is that we want it to be like, find hope, bring hope. So it's a Christian community. People need to know that this is an authentic space where that they will feel seen, cared for, loved, heard. So in order to invite them into that, it has to be authentic. So how do we create that authentic space? Well, creating that through authentic relationship is a great way of doing it. So having a culture where we're actually inviting people into coming, inviting people into being a participant, into doing something, into this space. So how do we do that? There's a couple of ways. Well, having things to invite people to. So Alpha is a great example of having a thing for people to invite to. Alpha is actually created for people who don't necessarily go to church. So it's a space where, again, we're targeting groups of people who do not go to church. So easy invite. It's not church. And the whole point is you have dinner and you watch a video. It is from the Christian perspective, but the whole point is to have conversations that aren't, overtly Christian. It's like, what do you actually believe about this? And any topic, any type of response is welcome. So inviting people to spaces like that, inviting people to conference. We just had a conference last week. We're having one in the summer. Having things to have people invited to is really important. And then in order to create the culture of inviting, we recognize as a staff and as our leadership team that it is important to actually start creating culture from the top. So in each one of our staff meetings, we actually track how we are doing in creating that culture. So we actually track our measurements. How many people did we invite to church, to an event, to something like that? Then we have conversations about how that went. Was it successful? Was it not? And by intentionally trying to create that culture as a staff, we're hoping that we are setting culture that will trickle out into the teams and the community that we lead. And then also, invitation getting our name out there, having opportunities for people to engage that aren't necessarily within the church. So having serving opportunities for people to engage in with our open arms food pantries and our Hope Academy events, which actually serves our families, right? Hope Academy is that daycare program. So when we do a big event that highlights like Christmas, all the kids do this like Christmas concert. All of the families come in, and through that, we're getting families inviting aunts, uncles, all these things, and they're coming into our space. And then community serving days. Again, people who might not necessarily come to church can come to a serving day because they're, serving their local community. So just talking about, numbers for our serving events. So this is our Open Arms Food Pantry. And in 2023, we, in Olathe, which is that is the light green one, it says that we served 8,102 individuals. 39,657 pounds of food were distributed, which equals 33,048 meals distributed. In Olathe, the monthly mobile, there were 12,356 individuals served. We had 172,000 pounds of food distributed, which equals 143,000 meals. Lee Summit's numbers are a little bit lower, but if you add up all of these numbers in our multiple locations of doing our food pantry, we served 285,000 meals to 26,000 people. Now, the reason I'm sharing that is because our church is only 1,500 people. That's 26,000 people that we served. So this is an opportunity where we are serving these people, and we are serving a need. And there are people that are coming into our community that are helping us serve. It's not all done by people who are part of our church. And then we're also, making brand awareness for who we are and what we stand for within our greater Kansas City community. Now, how have all of these strategies and different things that we've done over the past year actually impacted site-specific growth? Now, in 2022 to 2023, the total growth of Olathe was about 25%. The Legends growth average was 28%, and Lee Summit's growth average was 50%, which, if we look at that all averaged together, means that there was about 16% of total growth over the past year. So some could say that the strategies that were being used over the past year did have some impact, because as churches over the past few years, they have tended to have attendance decline. So it looks like something is going right, and these marketing strategies could have some impact on that. So our final thought here in this presentation is the conclusion and the recommendations. Now, I do think, my conclusion is that what is currently being done is working to some extent. I do think that there are some gaps in some areas. Now, I think that those gaps are actually being addressed. Some of them are being addressed directly already. Let's look at one of those. One of those gaps is repurposing our content for brand recognition. Now, that is something that I think is going to enhance what we're doing. We have so much content, and in order to become relevant on social media, we should be doing that. And the fact that we're heading in that direction is awesome. I think that the way that we're serving our community and the way that we're getting out there, all of these things are really awesome for brand identity. We are currently in the process of making sure that the local churches and the local spaces which are meeting their demographics locally have that unified language of Hope Chapel. Now, this is a little bit of a messy process because people are people, and how do we have that unified identity while we're also meeting people on a local basis? That's something that we're working out, but I do think that it is going pretty well at this point. And I think that the way that we're going about it, making sure that we're having those local meetings where we're talking about unity, casting vision, is going really well. Now, a couple of ways that we could improve these things is I think we could focus a little bit more on our social media presence. Now, if we were to capitalize on the things that we're doing, like we're already doing so much, we already got so much going on. I don't think things need to be regenerated and recreated, but if we could capitalize on the relationships that are built and the services that are going on through our Open Arms community, our Hope Academy, all these serving events, all the good things that are happening, if we could put those things out there in a way that actually speaks to this generation, I think that it would be attractive. And people would be like, oh, what's going on here? So having a little bit more intentionality behind what we're putting out there in social media and being really consistent about it, and not using social media as a means to get people on our website, but just using it as a way that people would recognize our brand, because we're already meeting people in the community. We're already meeting people in all these different aspects. So when we're meeting them, it's not them having to learn who we are for the first time. It's, oh, I saw you in this. I saw you doing this already. I saw that you were a part of this because I saw you on social media. And then when they meet us in person, there's already that brand recognition. And then also, I think our online presence can be enhanced. This is something that our website is fine, but if we were to focus on our CEO strategy, our SEO strategy to improve visibility in our ranking on search engines, i.e., if you were to search Kansas City Church or, something, food market or food pantry or something on Kansas City's website, if we were to put a little bit more intentionality on our SEO strategy, maybe with blog posts or really sharing testimonies and stories about what's going on our website, and then just visually making it more appealing to get people to stay on there, and maybe people can navigate it with a little bit more ease. I think that would help us as well. And then finally, onboarding our new guests. We do have people that are coming into the building on a regular basis, but how are we actually onboarding those people and making them feel welcomed, seen, cared for, and like they're a part of something? So we do have monthly a onboarding, like welcome to Hope meeting. It happens every single month. But if you don't go to that, if you don't hear it, if you miss that, how are we actually getting those people that came in and gave an email? Right now, we're sending those people who gave us their email, we're sending them an email saying, welcome to Hope. But then what happens after that? There's so many different programs, there's so many different ways to get involved, and people are missing out on those things. So I think if we were to do a targeted email campaign that includes next step of involvement, so that 7 days after you get that first email, you get something of a reminder, or a month later you get, hey, it's been a month, some type of elongated, this is your next step, this is what you do, so that people have that reminder of how to engage. And even if it's not a reminder, even if they're trying to actively engage, just something that points them in a direction. Those are my recommendations, and I really appreciate you taking the time to walk through this process with me. This was a great class. Again, my name is Joseph Pedetti, and this was my analysis of Hope Chapel's marketing strategy currently. Thank you so much.